I think probably the Hizmet movement is based upon family, based upon growing the ideas of how to get along, the ideas of true values, of tolerance, of understanding, of having a oneness with a higher being than yourself. I look at and listen to the more I understand. I think the Hizmet movement right here in Colorado has been very exciting. It's been exciting to open up. And my name is Senator Nancy Todd, and I represent Aurora in Senate District 28 and serve the people of Aurora, Colorado. I think that the Hizmet movement has been something that I have learned so much about. We had the opportunity to actually travel to Turkey, and when we did, I was able to find out even more about the Gulen movement and Hizmet and how important it is to have dialogue, how important it is to listen to each other and to learn, to figure out how to problem solve, and to look at what the core values are in terms of getting along and reaching agreement. I would say that the Hizmet movement is one that is based on love, on harmony, on tolerance, on communication, compassion, understanding. Important to have an acceptance of one another, to recognize and respect the human soul and the differences in our humanity. I was a teacher for 25 years before I became a state legislator. And I think some of the principles behind and the values of the Hizmet movement is really what I have professed all my life, and that is to listen and treat each other with dignity, to love and care about others, to make sure that you are listening as well as speaking, and having good dialogue to recognize how to learn from each other. I think probably the most significant value is learning how to get along, to listen. I think so often we are in such a hurry to tell people what we think as opposed to listening. And I think having a genuine dialogue of listening and learning from each other and recognizing that we really are here to bring about peace, that we deal more compassionately with each other. And I think all of those different components are things that are significant in terms of world changing. I think probably the Hizmet movement is based upon family, based upon growing the ideas of how to get along, the ideas of true values, of tolerance, of understanding, of having a oneness with a higher being than yourself. I think any and all of those are important aspects that have continued on through the Hizmet movement. Dialogue between all faiths is extremely important. My faith is a Christian, and as I went to Turkey and was around Islam and in and out of mosques, visiting with the Muslim people, there was a commonality, and there was a genuine respect and honoring of the intercultural dialogue that took place, both in Turkey and right here in Colorado. And so I think the more there is a dialogue, the better it is for everyone, because it clarifies. People have misconceptions and make judgments, and the more you have good, solid information and correct information, the less judgmental you are of people who have an experience of faith different than your own. I think that the more educated you are, then you have a better understanding of what true democracy is. And being able to look at problem solving for, again, for societies comes through being well educated. If you continue to do the same things the same way that you always have, you'll get the same results. And so trying to come up with new and different approaches. And I think the Hizmet movement has really focused in on educating the total child, from values as well as the academic side, and really teaching the responsibility of learning and being an educated person. And as a result of that, I think democracy is the benefit. I think that when you look at running a social organization, whether it is run by Muslims or Christians or whomever, I think it is a matter of making sure that you are operating for the right reasons, that there's no self-serving and that it's not to seek power, but it is to leave the world better than the way you found it. The Hizmet movement definitely is contributing to world peace. I think that the importance that is placed on interfaith dialogue and bringing people together is extremely important. And I think that the interfaith dialogue that I've been involved with, even before I went to Turkey, bringing people together has been a very valuable part of peacemaking as well as making our world better. I have never had as much chai tea as I had when I was in Turkey, and that was wonderful. So when I think about just one memory, there are so many: the beauty, the peacefulness, the enormity of the country, as well as just the friendliness and the outpouring of love and compassion and genuine acceptance of the people was very, very rich. And so all of the experiences were so rich. I came back as a different person. I went with certain expectations that I was going to a different country, but I came back with a much different attitude towards understanding the Muslim people, the importance of trying to promote democracy in Turkey, to continue to maintain a balance of the culture, and at the same time move forward in being a well-educated people. The more I look at and listen to and read about the Hizmet movement, the more I understand the importance of us to focus on what is real, what really makes a difference, and the values of focusing on education, the focusing on compassion and interfaith dialogue, the importance of understanding tolerance. And tolerance kind of is one of those words that's tossed around a little bit, but it's not just tolerating a person. What it means is really accepting a person and learning and growing from them and from those experiences. I feel like I have been very blessed by the Hizmet movement, and I thoroughly have enjoyed the friendships that I have made and been able to benefit from, and I'm a richer person because of that. I think the Hizmet movement right here in Colorado has been very exciting. It's been exciting to open up a wide variety. I've seen it from the governmental involvement of legislators and some of our, I think even our Attorney General and different people that have been in elected offices that have been involved. And the more that there is an opportunity to learn from each other and to learn problem-solving skills and focus on those values, the more they can be implemented in our daily lives and, again, carry that on and carry that forward. The Hizmet movement is extremely strong in Colorado, and it's led by strong leaders. It is led by very committed men and women and families. And I would say that the exemplification of how to live a life has been very positive in Colorado through the Hizmet Movement. I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to use my phone because I found a quote that I thought was so wonderful, and I'd like to share that, if I might, from Gulen. Love is an elixir. A human lives with love, is made happy by love, and makes those around him or her happy with love. In the vocabulary of humanity, love is life. We feel and sense each other with love. And when I read that, it opened up my eyes to be thinking in terms of, sometimes I think in our culture, we don't allow for people to be who they are. We kind of prejudge, or we make a decision as to what we expect before we get to know them. And when you think in terms of looking at people through the eyes of love and recognizing that we really are all very equal, and being able to see that really has been very important to me. And I think, when you think of the, and I'll just go off a little bit in terms of talking about the Islam religion. And as a former teacher, I took my students to the mosque. And it was important for me to do that. We would go to a mosque, and we would go to a Jewish temple, and we would go to a church. And I wanted children to know and experience different religions and recognize that there is nothing right or wrong, and not to make those prejudgments, but to look at and understand what those different religions can offer different people. And I think that's very important. What we fear is what we don't know. And so the more ignorant we are in many ways, and the less we are open to learning about each other and differences, sometimes we just get stifled, and we don't grow and learn. So I think, again, looking at the Hizmet movement and looking particularly at the experience of going in and out of the schools, for example, when we were in Turkey, and seeing the children very engaged, and seeing them very responsible and very receptive to the leadership and the learning that was going on, seeing the dedication of the teachers to making sure that students are really coming out with becoming the best they can be. I think that was one of the things that was very paramount to us with our guide, that he was brilliant. He was very, very intelligent, and took pride in being intelligent, but not so much that he just had knowledge for knowledge's sake, but application, being able to apply that different knowledge in different ways. And I think that that's something that is, again, a value that has come through the Hizmet movement, that it really is leaving a mark on where you've been and making a difference, not just getting a degree and saying, oh, now I'm smart, but what can I do with that, and how can I leave the world better than the way I found it? And I think those were some things that, again, not only do I see that did I see it when we were in Turkey, but also I see it when we have the interfaith dialogue. It's intentional. It's not just well, how was your day? Oh, what's the weather like? But you're talking about things that really matter, really make a difference in the quality of life and the impact that we can have on each other and the impact on our country and our world. And I think that those are all aspects that I see that come from the leadership in the Hizmet movement. Gulen was a person I had never heard of before. And when we got ready to go to Turkey, we were given different pieces of information, books to read, to look at, and to get some information. And the more I read, the more I could align with his philosophy of being well-educated, increasing the dialogue from the Mosaic world to the Western world and making sure that there is a blending of understanding and a genuine compassion for listening and learning from each other. And so I think that his leadership has been probably world-changing.
My experience of the Hizmet movement is that they are inviting strongly committed Muslims to be involved in the everyday world, not to be pulled apart from it, to be involved in the society.
I think that Hizmet provides a very positive aspect, or very positive facet for Islam in the world today. As you know, there are a lot of stereotypes of what Islam is in the Western world, and I think that Hizmet helps to break those stereotypes.